What's up, guys? Thanks for joining another episode of Cars, Bikes, and Coffee. I am Kurt, and we are working on a 1974 Datsun 260Z. Today, we're working on the engine, and that means we need to tear it down, but we do have a problem. Stay tuned. All right, so what we need to do is we need to get the engine on a engine stand. We need to document the things that we're going to plate, the things that are going to the machine shop, and the things we're going to pitch, and more importantly, the parts that we need. This is an engine. It's been sitting outside. I know there's a few parts that are missing. We do have a backup engine with parts, so we're going to grab what we need from that one. Now, as far as the engine, it's an L26, so that came on the 260Z here in the United States. That was 1974. Now, the difference between the 240Z engine and the 280Z engine, they actually share a few things from both. So from the 240Z engine, we get the bore, and then from the 280Z engine, we get the stroke. So let's head outside, get the engine off of the lift and onto the stand, and tear that thing down.
So besides being a complete mess, and we definitely need to get this thing cleaned up really well, we've got a few parts missing, and also the engine has been sitting outside, so of course it doesn't spin. So what we're going to first do is undo and throw away these old spark plugs and fill them with some PB Blaster. So now, while the PB Blaster is working away on the rust inside the pistons, what we're going to do is start just taking some of these accessories off the distributor, take the intake manifold and the exhaust manifold off. All right, so we have the intake manifold off, the exhaust manifold, and the distributor, and now we're going to take off the pieces off the front. The one thing just to always remember is bag and tag everything. Even though we're going to use a whole new bolt kit, it's just good to keep these on hand just in case there's any confusion or size problems. And then when we get into other parts where there's different bolt sizes, we'll map those out and where each bolt goes. So let's head to the front. So we've already taken the fan off as it was being loaded into the truck, but what we want to do is go ahead and take this piece off and the pulley off there, and then as well take off the mechanical fuel pump. Now with the water pump, it has some different size bolts, so what we want to do is take like a piece of cardboard, or you can take a plate. You can even measure the bolts as you take them out for their length and their width. But what we can do is draw a quick picture of the water pump and then poke holes for each of the respective bolts so we know where the bolts go back. All right, so basically you would end up something like this. Now you can put tape over the bolts just to make sure they don't fall out, but they're pretty good. But you can see we have three different types of bolts and sizes, so we don't want to mess those up. So now we're going to move on to the pulley. So now we want to take off the timing pulley. We're going to use a breaker bar for this. We did spray it down with some PB Blaster. An impact gun would be awesome. I don't have one or a big enough compressor to run it, so worst case we can try the one I have, but it's a small compressor. So let's go with the breaker bar. Go big or go home. So this one's being a little tough. Got to call in the big guns for this. The compressor I have is just a little pancake, and it's not going to pull this off. So we're going to skip that, and we're going to move on taking these studs out. And the way we're going to do that is just put 2 nuts on, and this front nut we're going to put up against and tighten to this nut, and then screw it out. All right, now that we've taken the studs off of the head, and we also even off camera took the studs off from the fuel pump down here, we're going to take the cam cover off, and then we're going to take the timing chain off. All right, so now that we have the cam gear off, what we want to do is loosen this bolt, and that basically is the front of the head connected to the front cover of the engine. And the next thing we want to do is go through and clean out these bolts so we can stick our Allen hex wrench in there. As you can see, this one's full of junk, so we need to clean those out, and then we can start taking those main head bolts out. All right, so now what we want to do is remove the oil spray bar, and we're just going to remove these nuts right here and then take that out so we can then remove the head. All right, so the spray bar is off, and now since the head is connected still to block, we're going to take off this coolant line. So when we take off these head bolts, we need to go in the reverse order that they were put on, which is this is the first one, this is the second one, this is the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, etc. So what we're going to do is start in the middle and move our way out. All right, take a look at this. This thing is messed up. Got a lot of rusts, a lot of pitting, a little bit of oil soaked on some of these, but tons of rust. So what we're gonna do for now, we're gonna fill this up with some PB Blaster, see if we can break down a little bit of the rust. We're gonna pull out the plugs. We're gonna go ahead and pull this nut off, and then the rest of these plugs for now. And then we're gonna take care of the rest, drain the oil, and get the oil pan off. All right, so we were able to take off the bolt, and thanks to this huge monster of an impact wrench we got off Amazon for only $75. So definitely recommend getting one of these when you're on your engine project or a car rebuild project for that matter. So link will be in the description for this guy. Okay, so now that we have the oil pan off, we're going to number each of the connecting rod ends with starting at the front of the engine with using machine punch, marking it with a 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dot, 4 dot, 5 dot, and 6 dot. And then as well, the crankshaft braces, we're going to just number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And now that we have all of those marked, we're going to go ahead and start breaking all these bolts and pulling it out. So now that we have all the connecting rod caps off, since our pistons are stuck, what we want to do is go ahead and take the braces for the crankshaft out and then remove the crankshaft. We're also going to remove the timing gear as well. All right, so we got 3 of the pistons out. These are, at least these 2 are the rusted ones, and they're pretty bad. And then this one is a little bit rusted, so they are sticking. So we're gonna let the machine shop help us out with pulling those out. Now we're gonna move our focus to finish this up, to get the core plugs out. And the thing you wanna do with these is to knock the side ones. There's 3 or so on both sides. You want to knock these plugs inside and then pry them out with pliers. There is one in the back, and there's not enough room to do that here, so this one you want to poke a hole and then pry it out. So on this one, it's a little rusted and it's not coming out. So we got all there's actually 4 on the where the oil filter is. So this one, a little rusted. We're gonna try using an old socket that I had lying around and see how that works.
All right, guys, so there you have it. We have torn apart that L26 and we need to get it to the machine shop. So what we're gonna do there is we're gonna have them take out the oil galley plugs. Those are aluminum, they're press fit in when they manufacture the engine. We're gonna have those pulled out, threaded, and then core plugged, or just plugged. And then we are going to have them clean it. We are going to have to see how much of a bore, overbore, we're gonna have to do because of that rust. And then we're gonna have them spec and a mic all of the crankshaft and also the connecting rods. We're gonna pull those pistons and ditch those and obviously replace them with probably a larger piston. Not much, just something to make that engine run just a little bit more. So thanks so much for watching. If you like what you see, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification. We have so much more content on this 60Z coming up. So just stay tuned.